friends. Thank you for tuning into the Odd Thoughts Podcast. At the Odd Thoughts Podcast, we like to talk about the everyday odd thoughts, have conversations on relatable topics, and just discuss whatever comes to mind. My name is Gunther, and I am your host. Welcome to episode 36. For episode 36, I started off by talking a little bit about Christmas break. I'm not in school anymore, obviously, but that was one of my favorite things, kind of signifying the middle point of the year was Christmas break. It was the perfect kind of just like separation from school. You know what I'm saying? Then I transitioned into talking a little bit about Krampus. Krampus is a German kind of Bavarian folklore creature that deals with the bad kids as Santa Claus deals with the good kids. And I think it's a pretty spooky tale. And I thought it was fun to talk about. Next, I transitioned into talking a little bit about kindness. I think everybody deserves a little warmth and sometimes deserves a little generosity from others. And you also have to realize in your own way that as others need that warmth, that you should be willing to give away that niceness just as an innate thing. Then I wanted to end it on talking about Christmas decorations. I think that one of the big things when it comes to Christmas that people kind of do to set them in the mood is decorating for Christmas, whether it's inside, outside, whatever kind of combination of things. So, if you want to listen to any of these topics, stay tuned in. I appreciate y'all stopping by. Please enjoy. How's everybody doing though? I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope that as we're getting closer to Christmas, you've got all your presents bought up, and I hope everybody's coming in for the holidays to your home. And I just want you to have the best time of year, as usual. I hope everyone this holiday season gets to spend it with loved ones, whether it's family or friends. It's always amazing when you can have shared time with people who you truly care about. Not everyone has someone, though, or maybe the ones that you did have are just not around anymore. During this time of year, family seems extra important. The holidays are always a time it seems most poignant for families to spend time together. I know that I am very thankful for my family, and I wish that for all those who don't have people, I hope y'all find some. I don't take it for granted. Even when it's hard to say I love you to their faces, I'll always be the first to admit it. And I don't mean to flaunt. I just want to express my heartbreak in hearing that others don't have people. They don't have family that they love and care about or that care about them. It tears me apart knowing that others have a certain loneliness around this time of year or around the whole year. I want to believe that everyone is capable of love or being loved. Love isn't guaranteed and people don't last forever, but it's something that we all can do. Making amends is also not simple, right? And it takes a lot of push to go onwards. But I have something that we should all remember. As badly as we want love, respect, kindness to be reciprocated onto us, especially when we feel we are the selfless ones, there isn't anything in the laws of nature that say that we should be given that, right? We must relinquish that kind of idea of what comes around goes around at times and realize that not everyone has the same abilities to give away warmth or receiving warmth as you do. We must show an unbridled kindness and love unto others, deserving or not, and be understanding of people. Know that even when you don't have people that you love or you have loved ones around you all the time, that you are capable of love, of being loved, of loving someone. And hopefully you will find those people, family, friends, people you can consider to be extremely caring people or people you extremely care about. I know that y'all are doing your best every day, and I don't want to put too much of a damper on things. And I love my family, and I hope y'all have family that y'all love. Huh, I'm doing okay around this time of year. I know that it's always a little hard when I can't provide certain things. I don't have a lot of money in my life right now, and I've never really had a lot of money, and so when it gets around this season, I know that presents aren't they're not the most important thing, right? I mean, presents are nice. It shows a little, resemblance of love, and it's just that little bit of that, fixture of your love. But I know that's not the most important thing. As long as I stay warm and I show that I love my family and I tell them that, I think that does help me. But like I said, I can't help but to feel a little guilty when I don't have money to buy them things. In general, even when it comes to just birthdays and stuff like that, I just want to give people things, and like I said, sometimes I can't say I love you to their faces. Sometimes it's just like it's hard for me. It's not something that I just do. I don't know if I always like want people to say I love you to me. I just don't think I always deserve it. So I'm not saying that people in my family don't deserve it. It's just hard for me to know that's a phrase that I can say comfortably, type thing. So I mean, what other ways can I do it besides just being nice to them and being warm to them? I mean, buying them a Christmas present ain't a bad thing, right? I think even I've shifted my mindset though that I mean I've got stuff in my house that I can whip up and it doesn't cost me money. I can draw them something nice and do something nice in that way, write them a poem, and I am kind of thinking about that. I just kind of stalled out in that way a little bit. It's tough though. Like I said, it makes me feel like a bum. It makes me feel like I'm useless. A little more than I usually do. And also just right now, I mean, my bummish, feeling hasn't really been subsided much. I've been trying to get ahead on podcasting, and I've been trying to get ahead on outlines and stuff, but I just got this blockage, man. I just got this like barrier that just is holding me back, man. It's not letting me like comfortably do outlines, and I get so stuck on these outlines, and then I think about like, well, I'll do the outline, I'll record an episode, and I get stuck. I just literally get so stuck, and I just already think about how bad the episode is going to be or something like that. I have like a pursuit for perfection that it's like unnecessary. I don't really want perfection necessarily. I want to always put out the best product I could possibly put out, always. But the whole thing of the podcast is like human nature. It's the whole point is even when I have my outlines, which I do, and I have things written down, I'm not talking about them necessarily point for point all the time. I'm trying to ramble as best as possible and trying to be as natural as possible. But I know that a lot of times when I write my outlines, I have my voice already in mind, right? How I'm gonna say this stuff in a podcast episode. So I just gotta kind of trust the outline process. I gotta trust that I'm writing these outlines in my voice so that as I read the outlines and as I'm doing them and I'm going to record them, that I'm doing it correctly, and at the end of the day, I kind of always get a little bit like as I go through each topic, especially like last episode, this episode, even though this episode felt a little better, but as I go through each episode, I kind of think about like, oh, this topic isn't really that great. And so when I go to the next topic, I'm still thinking about the last topic, and it puts like a predisposed like, bad feeling on on the whole episode in general. So I'm doing my best to try to relinquish that kind of already predisposed feeling, and I don't. If a couple people listen, cool. If nobody listens, cool. I don't care. I just gotta remember that I'm doing it for just to get my thoughts out there and make me feel better about not holding so much stuff on my mind and truly working around certain aspects of life that I just don't think I can always work through when I'm just thinking about it. So if I say it, and it gives me a chance to let it out into the ether, and also I can always go back and listen to my own episodes and remember the things I said about things and apply it to my life again, which is a big thing with the podcast. I've always try to say it that when I talk about things on the podcast and for whoever listens, I don't you don't have to necessarily take everything for as like literal as I say it or whatever, right? That if you follow certain processes, that this is what's going to happen, right? I talk in generals. I talk in broadness. I talk in ways of thinking like where I just want to motivate people to have their own conversations. That the kind of gaps maybe in the certain things that I'm not saying, you're saying something, right? Having conversations back with me. If anybody ever wants to comment down below, do it. Pause the video and comment, where you pause the video, and talk back to me. You know what I'm saying? I try to look at comments. I just don't always get a lot of them. Usually, if it's my little sister that gives me a comment, but it's one of those things where like I love that. Let's open up the conversation. I think we've gotten away from that as people. We don't have talking points just ready to go. We have to like look up things and we talk about what wherever we're most pissed about or most in love with in the moment, and we just don't think about having a broadness in everything that we know. But yeah, I'm done rambling. You know me. So let's get into it. Let's hop into episode 36. As each new school year came around, the start was always a little shaky. You have to kind of like adjust to getting back into the school mode, you know, new teachers, new things for each new year. Inevitably, there will be some adjusting and not everything will seem so chaotic, but there's probably going to be a lot of stuff at the beginning of the school year that is pretty chaotic. One of the best things that I always felt kind of helped out a little bit with like the slog of like the school year is vacation time. It was definitely probably every kid's favorite time of the year, right? It was nice to have a like a summer break or Thanksgiving break, but Christmas break always seemed the best. It was that, you know, small little 2-week break right in the middle of the school year and felt like it came perfectly after the first few months and then you had a few months after. Whether you, you know, stayed at home, visited out of state family or just went out of state or just whatever it may be, Christmas break was pretty freaking awesome. Like I said, it was that perfect like 2-week break, right? You know, you spend the first few months, you're getting into the mode of things, and eventually you start to kind of learn things, and you're kind of adjusting to the new school year. And it was nice having like Thanksgiving break right next to Christmas break. It was kind of nice having that like double block of vacation time, but Christmas break was really awesome. It was, you know, shifting into the new year and it kind of, you know, you got to settle on what you just learned and, you know, get ready for the next part of the year. To me, it was the best vacation time. I mean, I did, well, you know, summer break is the best vacation time, I suppose, but I just like I said, it was always great to have Christmas break just to have those couple weeks off right in that middle point of the year. It just anytime that any break, right? Any break, any vacation time, it was just the perfect like time to not think about school. Literally do everything but school. And in Christmas break, you know, that with Christmas or in the holidays around this time of year, there's hopefully a few more things you can do, right? It feels like this is when you actually do go out of town to visit family or, you know, hopefully if you live in a place that snows, you get a little snow. And so you have plenty of things to do on Christmas break. And most importantly, you know, it comes with Christmas. So you get to it like, you know, it's always like one week has Christmas and then like the next week, no, you still have it off, but you know, you get to enjoy all your Christmas stuff and you get another kind of week of just nothingness, basically, or nothing schoolish, you know. And all the it's kind of fun. It's like I said, all vacation time is fun, but with Christmas, it kind of brings that particularness of like family, like, you know, people coming out of town and because you get some presents, it gives you like a little bit more of something to enjoy during that specific break. You know, I've traveled sometimes, gone to Minnesota, which is where I'm from, and people coming in from out of state and come and visit family and stuff like that, and that stuff is fun. I mean, my family always has really generally kind of lived next to each other, at least my dad's side of the family, so I'm not really too far away from anybody necessarily. But as we've gotten older and people have separated, it's kind of nice. You know, I'm not in school anymore, so the Christmas break doesn't really matter, but it is nice to like, you know, that was always a nice thing with Christmas break is being able to see family and enjoy presents and stuff like that. That's really is like when you're a young kid, that's like what you really only think. It's like you got a new video game or you got a new toy or you got a bike or whatever it may be. So that's really what that was the whole point of the Christmas break was to just enjoy that and just have that break from that school, you know. And fortunately, sometimes, at least I think it's sometimes my case, I kind of think I forgot about school a little bit. I get lulled into that sense of like, oh, I have this extended time off, so I'm not thinking about like the next morning trying to wake up and get ready for school every day. Or, that first week you can kind of like, you're not necessarily super settled in. Then that second week you're pretty free. It's like, oh, 2 weeks, So, I forgot about school sometimes or forgot about certain things. And luckily, like when you got back to school, that usually there was like new things to learn. It wasn't like you were continuing over any topics from previously because that would have been messed up. You know, that was kind of the cool thing is like that break comes with like the first report card, the halfway year report card, not a progress report, but a report card. And so it was like that perfect timing of like I got all the stuff out of the beginning of the year out of the way, so I just got to set myself up for the second part of the year. And sometimes sad when you get back, sometimes not because you have to show off maybe some stuff you got for Christmas and you'd see your friends and because they maybe were out of state or you were out of state or whatever. And so it's sad, but it also is kind of cool to come back to school after that break. It depends on what your mentality is. I think mostly I was like I had fun coming back to school. I don't think I was like too upset going back to school. I always really enjoyed school, even if I wasn't the smartest or most popular kid, which I wasn't. I had fun. I always think like as a kid, I just couldn't think of like I could play video games for 6, 7, 8 hours or however long school was, right? I could do that, but I think video games wouldn't be. I always as a kid, I used to think that way. Like video games were better when I got home from school, did my homework or whatever, or kind of just relaxed for a little bit and then played. It always made it feel nicer. It always made it feel like I can enjoy games more. Because I don't know what else I would have been doing throughout the day if I wasn't going to school. Truthfully, and, I think the 2 weeks is pretty perfect. Truly, it's not too long, right? Where it's not like a whole, summer break is 3 months. And so just thinking about like a whole month off of school is like crazy. So to have, to have 3 months is amazing. But then like 2 weeks with Christmas break is like that's a pretty perfect time period. It's not too short in my mind. Maybe some people feel like it is too short, but and it's not too long. It's just like Thanksgiving break is 1 week, and that's pretty nice. So adding on that extra week, at least I remember it being 2 weeks. That was always perfect. You know what I'm saying? And all the things about like that's the whole beautiful thing about the holiday season is it kind of you get all these new things in your life, and and it kind of gives you this hopefully this new kinda outlook on the future year, right? This kinda new you. You kinda go back to school and you got some new clothes, your new haircut, and maybe you hung out with a cousin that, learned something in their school, they do it differently in their school. So it's just funny to think about all the things that like it felt like, you'd see some kids come back from Christmas break and they'd be totally different. Like when I was in 8th grade, during Christmas break, I got a haircut and got my glasses for the first time. The first time I ever got glasses. And so when I came back, I went from having like long hair, no glasses, to having short hair and glasses. So it's like they totally different. You're seen as kind of like this slumpy kid before, and now you're seen as like a smart kid. And I'm like, I'm not that smart. Like I'm decent, but I ain't that smart. But it was it literally was a whole new me. It felt like a whole new me. I had a couple new outfits too. And so you kind of like reinvent yourself sometimes over Christmas break. Not significantly, not too much, but get to show off some new things. You get to show off new clothes and even like I said, new things in general. Just get to show off like toys and presents and whatnot. See what everyone else got too. I think that's kind of cool. Is like you kind of see what the hot present of the year was. Like everybody gets like the Call of Duty game, or everybody got a skateboard that year or something like that. And so you really see what the trends are. And I think it just always big thing with me as a kid. I always remember it just made it exciting when you got back because that meant it was the last half of the year. It's like I said, the perfect signifier of the half year. It's that middle point. The first part of the year is a little bit of a slog. It's kind of that you're kind of going through, you're learning a bunch of new things, having to readjust to things. And so it feels like it kind of takes forever that first part of the year. But then that second part of the year used to fly by for me. Felt like that second half of the year, those months just were like irrelevant type thing where it just flew past. Even though those are kind of like the more important ones when it comes to grade and stuff like that. But it always just made me think like, oh, I'm ready for the rest of the school year. I enjoyed my break, I had my freedom, and now I'm ready to finish the school year. I think honestly that's probably a lot of kids' mentalities, and I know that having a niece and nephew, it's kind of like I don't ask them too much because like I'm not really asking how kids feel, you know. I think I still sometimes remember how as I felt as a kid, truly. But I know that they enjoy it. It's every kid enjoys Christmas break for sure, or any vacation time. But you know, I think as even as I get a little older and eventually I think about having kids, I think about like it'd be nice for my kids to have that Christmas break, but then having my kids home for 2 weeks straight, that's hectic. And but then summer vacation 3 months, dude. Yeah, whatever. But Christmas break was a great time of year, and I think it was, at least in my mind, my favorite time, like the favorite vacation time of the year. Summer was great, but spring or Christmas break was that perfect like middle point, perfect 2 week break in the middle of the year. Most of us as kids growing up, we believed in Santa Claus. We looked forward to good old Saint Nick coming and spreading some holiday cheer and handing out presents to all the good sleeping boys and girls. Most places around the world do have some sort of, Santa Claus, or, the Santa Claus that here in America we believe in. As we kind of think Santa Claus is the biggest, kind of most famous Christmas figure, I was doing a little research and I started looking around the world as I did, and I came across some other countries like celebrations or whatever. Specifically, for example, in like Germany and the general kind of Bavarian countries, there is a belief outside of Santa Claus, along even more so alongside Santa Claus, that there is a belief that as Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus is only dealing with good kids, that has to be someone who deals with bad kids. Huh. So they invented, or part of their lore is Krampus, who is like a half goat, half demon creature who literally deals with the bad kids. From accounts that I've read, he either like whips them with like sticks or whatever, or he eats them. So how exciting! But just imagine being a poor little German kid who you're just every year you're literally around that Christmas time you're like freaking out that if you're a good kid or not because you don't want some demon crawling through your window. Golly, it's pretty messed up, but it is awesome to think about how different countries view Christmas. I was having a lot of fun kind of diving into the Krampus thing, and I think most people maybe know of Krampus, right? He's the anti-Santa. He's looking for the bad kids and making them perish for being a bad kid, basically. But just scary, half demon, half goat looking creature thing, and that's the general like German Bavarian vibe. If you read like folklore from Germany and that kind of Bavarian countries, a lot of it's like depressing, like Austrian, French, Switzerland, like these countries, like a lot of their fairy tales are kind of depressing. And so it's Krampus is really just a thing around that kind of central eastern kind of alpine area, the Bavarian countries like that. It's part of their folklore. And Krampus is just literally, like I said, the anti-Santa. It's Krampus looks for the bad kids, and I read that he either whips them with birch rods or he eats them whole and sends them to wherever hell, I guess, or whatever. As I don't think kids have gone missing in that sense, where they haven't come back because they've been eaten by a demon. It's still scary to think. Thinking about being just a little, I'm American, but my heritage is German, and that's not like what I grew up with. And just thinking about being a little German kid, worried about Krampus coming through your window, like imagine like you have a brother or a sister, and like Santa Claus is like giving them a present, but then Krampus is like winding up, ready to hit you. Jesus Christ. But I guess it comes from Krampus comes from the German word for claw, which is cramp. So it's claw. That's what I read. There was one other thing. They had like something. It's from another language, maybe. I didn't. I wish I would have wrote that down. I did not. I am sorry. Hmm. But from my accounts, what I was reading is it started around maybe like the sixth, seventh century. The whole Krampus folklore. It's kind of part of the whole pagan rituals, as a lot of that part of Europe was at that time, way before Christianity and stuff like that. And it's of course it's kind of that thing. It was part of the whole winter solstice type celebration. And it was around before, like I said, before Christianity, but then it later was associated with Christmas, kind of. I don't really know how. I don't know how, but eventually it kind of became associated with that Krampus was. But it's literally the appears next to alongside Saint Nicholas on December 5th, which is described as Krampusnacht or Krampus night, which is German Krampusnacht. And that means Krampus night. And so as Saint Nicholas gives good gifts away, Krampus just takes care of the bad kids. And then, the kids wake up on December 6th, which is Saint Nicholas Day, and either they have presents or they have injuries that they have to attend to. Which is great. I mean, like literally, way to freak out your kids into behaving, just in general, like year round. Like Krampus and Santa Claus are always watching, so you better watch out. But there's it's the whole thing. I mean, like there's other festivals that kind of like that go around that. Krampuslauf, which is Krampus Run, which is they just dress up and like get drunk and dress up as Krampus and just like play tricks, get drunk, have fun. What Germans do, you know how they do. And apparently in the early 1900s, they tried to kind of take away from the Krampus like folklore. They were a little bit scared of like hurting the feelings of kids, and that was kind of the general vibe I think of like the world is people are a little more emotionally accepting of kids, which is a little weird to say, but I think it was generally just a worldwide effort to try not to freak kids out too much and treat them a little better. But recently it's become more popular again in like man 30, 40 years or whatever. And I think it's in a I was reading it's kind of more an attempt to try to preserve heritage, right? Most countries have to be as a country you should be proud of, some of the great things and some of the bad things, even though it's hard to be proud of the bad things. But something like Krampus, why not lay into that folklore a little bit? Why not? Why not, So I think that's pretty funny just to think about it. They're trying to just keep Germany or Bavaria, that whole part of the world. They're just trying to keep it what it is. And me personally, I'm glad that I never had to deal with those stories as a kid. I don't remember the age when I really questioned Santa Claus for the first time. I think I was like 9 years old when I kind of first thought like, or I was a little younger than that, but 9 years old when I think I was solidified that, Santa Claus is not real or whatever. But that's a crazy thing. Is like to think then the other option is to, there's either Saint Nicholas, there's Santa Claus, or there's Krampus. So be good or be bad. I don't think I could have took that as a kid. I wasn't a bad kid. I mean, it wasn't like, and I wasn't someone that was. If I did do bad, I wasn't like intentionally thinking about being a bad kid. I wasn't, f you, f this thing, type stuff. So like I tried to be a good kid, and I did. So, I don't think I would have ever got visited by Krampus. But they made that Krampus horror movie a couple years ago, and like maybe like 8 years ago, I guess. So not a couple, but that was a really good movie. I think that perfectly, nobody dies in it too. Everybody gets captured or whatever. And then it kind of ends ambiguously, right? That they all survived, but they're all trapped. So I think that's kind of a cool. I think that was really good, and they kind of played it really spooky. They don't let you see really Krampus like too front on the whole movie, right? I think you do see him like at some point. I don't really remember, but I think it was pretty good. It kind of leaves that ambiguousness. It just has like it's Santa Claus. Like you're not necessarily supposed to see Santa Claus. He's supposed to come when you're sleeping, and when you wake up, the presents are supposed to be there, right? It's like the whole point. So yeah, you're not supposed to see Krampus either. So either you just like go to bed and wake up, and you got a big old mark on your arm from him hitting you with a birch rod. I heard that was his favorite weapon. He also like there's been kind of it's all been the same depiction of him, like this goat demon thing, but some depictions he's had like wings or like chains or whatever, and so just absolutely spookifying it as much as possible. And like I said, that's the German like Bavarian, that's the vibe. A lot of you, if you read like German literature and you read like German stories and folklore, a lot of it is pretty depressing and, like, dark like that, and it's pretty funny to think that it just spreads on to it's, like, all part of their society, right? It's all part of their heritage and their folklore, so, of course, it's gonna affect their kids, affect everybody in society, but I would guarantee that, as adults, you kinda realize the certain realness of the holidays and how certain things like that, but, imagine just, like, You being an adult telling your kids that just as you were a kid when your mom or dad or your grandparents or aunt and uncles or whatever were telling you that. Just passing on that trauma. Now it's like I was trying to think like, America, we just kind of like have like a great view of Christmas. We don't have that like scary view of Christmas in that way. So it's just funny to think about other countries how they celebrate and stuff. And I'm gonna do an I think next episode, yeah, next episode I'm gonna do the history of Christmas, and I'll talk a little bit about how like the things that Christmas is seen as now is kind of Americanized. At least how we celebrate in America. We had a lot to do with our own traditions, as well as taking it from like past traditions and how long the theoretical Christmas celebration has been going on. But that's for the next episode. I wouldn't suggest going and telling your kids that if they're bad, that Krampus is gonna, come and get them. But I think it's important to tell your kids to behave, not just around Christmas, but you want your kids to behave properly, right? You want them to be good, and they're gonna make mistakes as kids do, as adults do. So I don't think I would want to threaten them with the Krampus thing. At least I don't want to say as threatening because like it's all part of just like like I said, it's all part of like a folklore. It's all part of stories. But just imagine being a little kid, going or around the Christmas season, going to sleep on December 5th, thinking like, oh crap, like I wasn't very good. Krampus is gonna come give me something. That's pretty scary, and I think just the idea of Krampus is terrifying. Something that I think people need in life is a little bit of warmth when we interact with each other. Not everyone may be perfect or be in the right circumstances in their life, so they might be kind of deprived of a certain warmth, of a certain kindness. People should have a nature to them of friendliness or a sense of care for others. Kindness should be a kind of like an innate selflessness we all possess as human beings. It may not always be brought forward, or, maybe it's kind of hard to divulge into, kindness, but sometimes there is a feeling that tells us when others are in need of some generosity. Empathy for others kind of tell us that people need that kindness for themselves. Consideration for others' feelings and a want of niceness onto others is pretty normal. Whether we feel deserving or we feel other may or may not deserve, kindness is something that should be practiced without expectation. Reciprocation of kindness isn't guaranteed, so kind of just relinquishing that warmth should be kind of pure willingness and acceptance of wanting to be nice, wanting to be caring for others. It's not always easy, but we should try to do our best at being considerate and friendly to others and having a sort of generosity and care for one another. I think kindness is a sort of niceness, right? It's a warmth that we have towards one another, and as we kind of understand our own plights, right? And we understand that we're in our low points at times, and you got to understand that other people do go through that, right? That some people just need that care. That sometimes we need to care about those others. Helpfulness towards those in need. I think that it's just people aren't always receiving that kind of warmth, right? That kind of niceness, that generosity. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I think everybody necessarily, in the sense that it's not guaranteed, right? I think everybody deserves a little kindness and a little warmth, but it's not guaranteed. A lot of things you're going to do are just going to kind of go by the wayside and just are just going to go by. So when you're in your low points, you're going to stick in those low points for a while, and you probably maybe will have to take yourself out of it. But a little kindness might help. Selfless actions. No expecting a reward type thing, right? Just someone who genuinely wants to come and help you, or as you see someone that is in need of themselves, right? You see someone that's struggling getting through a point in their life and they're in this super dark spot, right? You know that you have maybe certain possession of actions where you could be a little selfless. And like I said, like you got to be selfless in the way of expecting nothing back. You shouldn't, help someone out and be kind to someone and then expect to turn the corner and have someone reciprocate that kindness to you. You just gotta want the best for people. You don't care what's been sacrificed, what you have to sacrifice in helping, or you just in people in the same way as when they enact on kindness onto you, they should be have that same mentality of like it doesn't matter what I have to sacrifice for you for this person for you. I want you to be better. We like I said, there's an empathy that we share as humans, and it's hard sometimes when you see certain people put themselves maybe in certain situations, or you kind of are dealing with your own selective things, and you don't even want to take a second to look at that, to look at what they're doing. And I can't blame you for that. There is a human aspect to everybody, right? So you got your own shit on your plate, excuse my language, right? But I think just wanting the best for other people ain't hard. It ain't a hard thing. And as I said, kindness is not a naturally reciprocated thing, right? It's kind of a kindness at your own risk type thing where you gotta, there's so many things you give up in that kindness, in that generosity and care for others. There's a lot of warmth you give up, and you're sacrificing kind of maybe ignoring your own problem for a second, or not thinking about yourself, right? So you're kind of just delaying maybe an inevitableness for yourself. But kindness it should be such an innate thing. It should be such a, you're kind because you're human. You're kind because people care about each other. You're kind because people need kindness. Kindness isn't like a whimed feeling. It's not like, lust or something like that. It's kindness should be something that's built in all of us. And I know we are all so capable of it. We are 100%, even those people that we maybe view as certain heartless or cold people, they just maybe just don't know what kindness looks like. People need kindness. People need a little care. You know that others are alone sometimes, and other people just maybe don't even know what kindness kind of looks like. And people just don't have that perception of what that warmth and in interactions with what people can offer to you and what you can offer to others. It's people can't offer themselves kindness. You can maybe a little bit. You can be nice to yourself and have a little generosity for yourself, right? You can care for yourself, but sometimes like it's hard to kind of, see that as a real kind of kindness. You're trying to pull yourself in out of a certain situation, and you're trying to be nice to yourself, and you're trying to take care of yourself, but it's not always going to work out. You're only doing so much, and the bad can really outweigh the good at times. The negatives can feel so hot and heavy that the kindness, I mean, like your self kindness, isn't going to pull through. And kindness is, I think, always I think of enacting onto someone else or someone enacting it onto you, right? And when others are alone, you know that they're not going to be able to deal with everything. And not to say that people who are alone are always struggling and they don't have anybody that cares for them necessarily, or yada yada this, but sometimes just that they don't know what it looks like. They've never felt that warmth. So being alone could really deprive you of that kindness, and knowing that there is care that people have for one another. We need to be receptive to kindness, most importantly. You know, it's not in the sense that when you think that when someone's extending their kindness to you that you owe them something. You should never. It's so hard to think that way, right? Where just because you have this view that someone's kind of extending themselves out to you and pushing a certain care onto you or whatever, that you think you then have to reciprocate it, right? You kind of have to think that, oh, well, why are you doing this? What's your game? What is this? What are you doing? But you realize that some people are just genuinely caring and genuinely kind, right? So when that kindness comes on, you got to be a little receptive. Not everybody's going to be receptive, right? Because, people don't feel like they deserve it. That's such an important thing to think about. We need a little warmth. We're all deprived of kindness and warmth a little bit, so we need that at times. And like I said, it might be weird when you've never seen it before. When you've lived a life, not necessarily in your own personal actions or in your own personal way, where kindness has like kind of eluded you in that way, but even in the people you spend your time with, the people that raised you, right? Like your parents, you hope that your parents love you and you have love for your parents, but they can also lack that kindness and that warmth to you. And so you wouldn't know what it looked like, right? And then when you kind of go on into your own world and you go on doing the things in your own life that, you just don't know what it looks like. It's so interesting. And And when people are willing to be kind and they have that innateness and they're just willing to just let out that generosity and that care for others, I think it's a wrong thing to then shun them, right? You kind of shun. I think some people just don't like to see people who are warm like that. I don't know why. I love seeing people who are genuinely kind, who literally do things because they just think that people need a little help and, as they would themselves, right? I think that's when you kind of flip your mentality as when you realize that you yourself needs a little care and a little generosity and a little extension of warmth. You need that, others do need that as well. And so when people are willing to be kind, you shouldn't shun that, right? Or when you yourself, like maybe you were kind of kind in one moment and you not always have that willingness, don't shun yourself for that, right? Extend yourself when you can. Extend yourself when you don't force the kindness. Don't use it as a pawn, right? Just do it. Help others unrequitedly. Don't force that kindness. Don't act like you're doing something big and or just because someone's in a down mood and maybe they're just in that certain point and they can do it themselves, right? Some people are so capable at that. You shouldn't think about it as like, oh, I'm doing it because I'm such a good person type thing, right? Maybe it's hard. I think, like I said, maybe it's hard that we don't necessarily know how to express kindness, right? How can I be kind? What does kindness look like? How can we care about each other? That's a big question. I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's always going to be a big like representation of, kind of thing. It's not going to be a big showing of kindness. It's not going to be like you're buying someone something or you're giving money to pull someone out of a situation or you're going to be there for them in their darkest moment, hugging them and crying the tears with them, right? It's not always going to be that. But just I think in a general, like, just at a base level of like I said, that as humans we all kind of struggle with our certain things. When people are struggling, leave them leave them in their struggle, not in the sense of like you let them suffer, but like let them be them. You know what I'm saying? Have an understanding that people are kind of go through things, so just don't be judgmental. Don't intersect and tell them like, "Hey, you're doing this wrong, and you're not doing okay, and you need to do this, and you need to do that." Because that's not going to help nobody. That's just not going to help anybody, right? I think just having a general respect for another person is kindness enough. You're staying out of people's ways and you're not intruding yourself into people's lives or being judgmental on how people do things. And I mean, we all got a little prejudices I think as people towards ourselves or towards others, but I think a big thing is like you don't have to say them. You definitely don't have to tell them. You don't have to not in a fake way, right? There's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for things to be said. So kindness is just realizing that people, like I said, people need a little warmth, right? And so when you're looking for like, how can I be kind to people? Just offer a little bit of generosity in the sense of like just little things, just letting people be them. A little bit opening the door for someone. If you can pay for someone's meal once in a while, that's not a bad thing, right? In your own family, if your sister needs a little money, give your sister a little bit money. Obviously, people will take advantage of kindness. I mean, it's a big thing as people will take advantage of that kindness. I don't know anybody in my life who takes advantage of people's warmth in that way. I mean, I'm surrounded by pretty genuinely great people, but there are people that will take that as like a oh, they're extending this kindness onto me, so I can always use them for that. Some people just don't have great lives and they're not set in the way they do things and live a pretty toxic way. And as I do believe that maybe they need a little kindness, it's hard to not maybe think about that some of those people are choosing to be toxic and choosing to abuse kindness and when they're kind it's because they're knowing they're going to gain something or to push a certain like bad negative view off of them and make them seem like the nicest kindest caringest person. But at the end of the day, kindness, you got to be willing. And kindness isn't a there's not a certain outline to what being warm to someone and this warmth and interactions and this niceness. There's no outline, so you got to be willing. You got to do your best. Offer what you can without expectation of what you can offer. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes just your presence and just you extending yourself is enough. And there are people just need a little bit of that help, that just need a little bit of that warmth, right? Kindness has no set level. Warmth is all that matters. doing your best and extending yourself, showing a little generosity. We know that humans suffer. I suffer, you suffer, your neighbor suffers, your grandparents suffer. People suffer. Not all the time. People suffer with a smile a lot of times too. So you're not always going to know. So I think when it comes to kindness, this kind of innateness of kindness, it is something that you should weave into your life in general. Having a general warmth for people, and even when you have these certain tinges in your head of maybe a little prejudice and you kind of want to blame someone for something, and we all do. And if you say you're not a holy person, sorry. But even when you have those tinges, you know that it's not my right. I have my problems. It's not my right to get mad at them for something, or it's not my right to judge them from a faraway distance or say something to them. If people are toxic, then yeah, point that shit out. Sorry for my language. But some people, some people just don't know how to pull through certain situations, right? Some people just don't know what that warmth is. And I think to be a kind person, to have niceness, to have a consideration for others is everything is something that every human should have. There are so many things that people do during the holidays that kind of get them into the Christmas mood. You start breaking out all the things from years past that kind of help set up the vibes for the holidays. One of the biggest things I think truly that most people seem to sort of participate in is decorations. Christmas decorations can kind of create that environment, that, holiday wonderland that truly kind of brings the Christmas spirit. Some will decorate just a little bit, right? They put a couple things up in the house, maybe some lights outside, just a few items or whatever. But there are others who like to lay it out for the holidays. They like to spend the money, break out everything they have, and literally make their home seem like Santa's workshop itself. I know that when the decorations start going up in my house right after Thanksgiving, that's when Christmas really starts to hit. It feels like that's when the Christmas season really starts to start. And whether you decorate inside, outside, it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of the whole point of Christmas decorations is to show off a little Christmas spirit. I don't think it makes you, more spirited than any other Christmas or, but it kind of reflects your enjoyment of the holidays. I think a lot of times people kind of use decorations as their excitement level, right? When you see people who have like all the inflatables and all these lights up outside, you maybe know they like to dive into it a little bit more than their neighbor who has just like one wrap of trees around their or one wrap of lights around their big tree that sits out front. There's like a whole ritual with Christmas decorations. At least it's like you break out all the tubs of ornaments and lights and figurines, and you break out the Christmas tree, obviously. A wreath, some holly, some tinsel. It's just it literally brings in, it's like, oh, now we're starting, you know what I'm saying? It brings in that like official start to the season. And maybe you get to go out and buy a few new ones, right? Some, ornaments break and things kind of just don't last very long at times. And maybe you get a couple new ideas. That's kind of the beautiful thing about social media, right? Is that, you go on Pinterest or you go on any sort of social media site and you get ideas. You get to get ideas for food and get ideas for decorations and stuff like that. And I think it's the ultimate like family activity kind of thing where you break out the kids, and you husband and wife or whatever, or you do it with your grandparents or your aunt and uncles or whatever, and you get together and decorate the house, and however you want to do it, however festive you really want to do it. Christmas is just seems like that more of that festive season, at least in that sense of decorations, right? Everybody, Christmas is it's like a celebration more, so it feels like Christmas is more of that celebratory kind of holiday. A lot of people decorate for other holidays. I mean, it feels like Halloween is like one of the other really big ones that people decorate for, but it's not as cheery as Christmas, right? It's not as like a celebratory thing. Halloween, it's a spooky time of year, and it's cool to celebrate the spooky. That's what it's really celebrating. But Christmas, it's like it just feels like that celebratory season. It seems like that most festive time of year. And it feels at the end of the day when people maybe aren't super involved in the holidays, it feels that at like the very basic, right? The very minimum, people want to decorate a little bit. And I love it. I like eventually when you get a little more closer to Christmas, right? You start driving up and down the neighborhood and you see people decking out their houses, right? Some people not. Some people barely tried. But even I always think about this too. Like, you don't want your outside of your house to look a certain way because you spend a lot of time making it look another way the rest of the year, right? So you don't want to put up lights to distract certain things, right? So maybe you're more of the inside decorations, even though people aren't going to see the inside of your house besides your family or whatever. But it's like I said, it just because you decorate doesn't make you more spiritful in Christmas. It doesn't mean you care about Christmas more, but it definitely reflects how much you love Christmas, your holiday spirit. I think like, who says the like what are the basics and what is excessive? I think like there is no basics to the holiday decorations, right? I think like, you put the Christmas tree up, you get the ornaments and stuff on there, and maybe you put a couple lights up in the house and on the outside. I think that's kind of a good basic thing, right? If you want to put up an inflatable or something like that outside, that's cool too. That's or lights that no, I already said that, but like not like the hanging lights, but ones that kind of project onto the side of the house or whatever. Those are kind of easy kind of things to get into, buying, a little Santa Claus figurine or something. But then like then becomes there I can admit maybe there is an excessive, right? Because like some house like my household, we break out like holiday plates or holiday tablecloth or holiday towels and stuff like that. So it's some people, it's really a change in the vibe of their lives, right? It's not just like, it's 360 days of the year or 350 days until the couple weeks before Christmas, and then all of a sudden it's like by the time we're getting into the mood. It always feels like, there's that shift for a lot of people. But it's just like I know in my way, I think with like my style, if I had my own like big home to decorate or just a place like that, I'd want to make it feel warm. I don't want to like just put up a bunch of like, bright green and red and stuff like that. I would just try to make it feel as warm and like log cabiny vibe, you know what I'm saying? Have a little bit of greenery in the house and just make it feel like, burning some candles that smell like pine type stuff. That's what I would do. But I mean like the most popular decorations, like I said, Christmas trees, doing some Christmas lights, things like wreaths, right? Putting up like garland and like tinsel and putting up like a mistletoe or whatever. Those are really like those basics. I think everybody can do a little bit of that, right? If you want to just be basic decorator, if you want to be basic. But I think whatever gets you into the holiday spirit, I think that's kind of the most important thing is when you're decorating, you're doing it. I think you should doing it. You're really doing it for yourself, right? You want to set yourself up into the holiday spirit, into the holiday mood. So you're making it feel that way. You're making your home reflect that. Or even like your whole people decorate their desks at their work, or they decorate their cars, right? Some people are so big on it that they'll do other people's houses, right? Like, I've known a couple people that just really get into that time of year. I had a friend that used to have an uncle that did like Christmas decorations that used to like people would hire him during the holiday season, and they would like give him like their decorations or whatever, and then he would like set it up for them and make it look like good and make it look decent and basically push and pull the maybe the minimum decorations or the excessiveness of decorations that people had. And I think that's a cool thing. I mean, it's part of that interior decorate. I mean, interior exterior decorator. People love that kind of stuff, and people have an eye for design and eye for artisticness. So I think it's amazing to see what people really get into with the Christmas decorations, the uniqueness. Like I said, I just like to feel the vibe. When the Christmas decorations go up, no matter how excessive or how basic, it's me in the mood. But I was reading some statistics. I don't know how accurate all these statistics are, but I was reading that the average American spends around $60 for decorations. Now, like I said, some people maybe go a little bit more and people maybe don't mess with it at all, right? Some people don't celebrate Christmas. So I don't know how that average works, but $60. That made me think like I think you buy one thing of lights. That's like all you can buy. Can you even buy a tree or ornaments for $60? So I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know. Like if is that $60 per year? Because that would kind of make sense if you're like building up, your collection over time, that you'd only need a couple more things here and there. That's crazy. $60 seems like too little, but 79% of homes decorate in America, which is pretty cool. Which again, I'm sure to their own extent, right? Some people go full extravagance, and some people maybe a little more minimal. But 79% of homes, that's a lot. For the Christmas, that vibe that America has, our Americanized version of Christmas is very much so that cheeriness. It really lays into that cheery holiday spirit. Everybody gets into it type thing. But I guess like worldwide altogether, billions are spent on decoration. So as America as a whole, billions of dollars are spent on decorations, which is insane. When you think about like the average American only spends $60, you're kind of like, okay, yes, that's a little low. But then the billions of decorations for the couple billion Americans, that's crazy. That's amazing. And I bet it's like gosh, right? Just thinking about like Walmart and Target or anywhere that sells, or like Michaels and Home Depot, or not Home Depot, what was it? Hobby Lobby. Sorry, I was like thinking, but like those places probably make some freaking bank. I just think about how much stuff they have, and just your general variation, dude. It's crazy. Um, 75% of homes have trees, so as 79% decorate, 75 have trees, which, it kind of feels like that's like the staple with Christmas decorations is like you got to have a Christmas tree. You I don't, some people don't like the stuff falling off the needles if you buy a real tree, or you got pets that don't like the tree and they want to mess with the tree, or kids or whatever. I can understand that, but it feels like that's like the number one thing when it comes to decorations. Um, um, it's an average of the average American household spends about $100 to $300 for lights. Which so separate from decorations, I guess. So decorations are more the little knickknack things or things you post up on the wall or whatever. But 100, yeah. So that's what I was thinking. Like $100 to $300 on lights seems a lot more reasonable, or at least like that's what I expect. If you're buying lights, you're gonna pay a couple $100 for them. They're expensive, but theoretically they last a while. You can hope my grandma uses the same lights for years, 20 years. And then we just buy some new ones once in a while because it's fun. But I think that seems more 200, 300 seems like more the average decoration, spending. But it was shown that 72% decorate just the inside, or I guess maybe just in general decorate the inside, but then only 43% decorate the outside of households. So most people decorate inside, like, and that kind of makes sense with the family vibe. Like you're the only one seeing it, and your family's the only one seeing it. So that kind of makes sense, right? Decorating is just trying to get you into the holiday spirit. That's the whole point of decorating, is to give yourself the holiday vibe. So that makes sense. And I can definitely see the 43% of people decorating outside. So not a lot, only half of households. And that makes sense to me too. That, as I'm probably someone that thinks about it, like depending on how nice my house looked, or if I spent some time on the out front and stuff like that, like I wouldn't want to necessarily drape over with lights and big inflatables, even though it's like only for a certain point of the year, right? But average Americans spend about $1,000 on Christmas. 71% of that is spent on gifts. So that's all, and $1,000 feels like that's about right. I think in the times that I've talking to people doing my own spending and stuff like that, it gets like piled up, and so $1,000 seems pretty realistic to how much people spend about that time, every year, and 71% on gifts. Obviously, that makes sense. It feels like gifts are going to be way more expensive than decorations. You'd hope, unless you're getting like little knick-knacky things, which is always cool too. I do a Secret Santa at my house. We've done it for the last couple of years, and usually we do like a $25 kind of gift, something simple, because it's just about family, having fun, watching Christmas movies, drinking eggnog, and eating treats. That's what we do. But it's fun to get into the holiday spirit. It is, and it really, I mean, Christmas decorations show how you feel about Christmas. It doesn't mean that you feel more feel greater about Christmas than others, but it helps you set the tone for the holidays. And whether you want to go excessive or you want to do just the basics or whatever, it don't matter. Decorate how you want. Go extravagant. Blow it up. Do the crazy stuff. Or just have a couple things around your house that make you feel wintry, make you feel like you're finally getting ready for Christmas. Alrighty, friends. That's really all I have to say about that. I appreciate y'all tuning in to episode 36. If you want to listen to this episode or any of my other past episodes or future episodes, I'll make sure to always post them on YouTube or Spotify under the Odd Thoughts podcast. If you enjoy any of my episodes or ever find anything I say relatable in any way, then I would appreciate a little support. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can also follow me on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow me on a few different social medias. I have a Instagram. I also have a Facebook, and then I also have Twitter. I'll make sure to link those all in the video description below, as well as like my channel description and stuff like that. But I appreciate the chance to get on the microphone and talk to everybody, as I always say, and I hope everybody is doing okay. And I hope that getting into the end of 2023, everybody's got everything set up right now, and I hope that the start of 2024 is just amazing. But I love y'all. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure to show up for yourselves every single day and be excellent to each other.